Welcome to the deep dive. We are jumping right in today. The end of the year gives us this really unique opportunity to just pause, look back, and ask one single intriguing question. And I think this one question really defined the entire strategic landscape of 2025.
Okay.
What if the most important trend of the year wasn't some shiny new piece of software, but a radical, almost necessary return to the physical world?
It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? I mean, for so long, the prevailing wisdom has been that the digital, the frictionless, the scalable, was going to inevitably replace the physical.
Absolutely.
We've spent the last decade hearing about the metaverse, virtual reality, software eating the world, all of that. But 2025 strategically really felt like the year of the reality check.
The reality check. I like that.
Yeah.
We've spent a solid decade chasing these purely digital dreams, valuing companies on, theoretical, limitless scalability.
Right.
And we were often neglecting the messy, complicated realities of the physical world. But when the rubber finally met the road, or maybe when the silicon met the infrastructure, 2025 showed us something really fundamental.
Which is that the entire structure of modern progress.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
Whether it's the AI revolution, the green energy transition, or even just our own basic human well-being.
It all came back to one thing.
All of it fundamentally returned to the need for one simple, almost old-fashioned thing: tangible infrastructure.
And that's really the core argument we're building today. This massive global pivot towards substance is fundamentally redefining where real value actually lies. If you spent 2025 only reading the headlines about, the latest AI model or the newest social media app, you were kind of looking in the wrong place.
You missed the real story.
You missed the actual investment opportunity, which was entirely below the surface in the physical components and processes that enable all of that intelligence.
Okay, so let's unpack this with some proof, because this is where it gets really interesting. We can validate this whole thesis instantly with two truly mind-blowing financial surprises from our sources.
Right.
So forget the usual suspects, forget the indices,
Sure.
because if you look at the top-performing assets of 2025, the winners were defined by one thing: their physical necessity.
That's absolutely right. The financial metrics that define 2025 are, they're staggering. And they weren't attached to speculation, they were attached to pure utility.
Okay, so what was number one?
The single best equity investment of the year, outperforming everything else on the board, was the surprising near 600% return, somewhere between 570 and 580% of a company that, honestly, many investors had entirely forgotten about. Sandisk Corporation, following its spinoff. And let's be crystal clear, this is a hardware company. It makes physical memory chips.
A nearly 600% return from a flash memory company. Just think about the strategic implications of that for a second. While everyone was pouring billions into building the AI brain, the GPUs, the real explosive money was made in the AI memory and storage layer.
The brain is completely useless if it starves for data.
Exactly.
And the second shocker was in the commodity class, which just reinforces this tangible trend. We saw the resurgence of a foundational industrial metal, silver, soaring over 160% in price.
160%.
It didn't just have a good year. I mean, it wiped the floor with gold, which still had a respectable year, sure,
No.
but nowhere near the level of exponential growth that silver demonstrated.
So we have a semiconductor memory company and an industrial commodity as the champions of global finance for the year. This is not random coincidence.
Right.
This is the global market signaling a systemic shift. And so our mission for this deep dive is to cut through all that superficial year-end noise, the standard headline recaps that just repeat what you already know, and really analyze the top 10 trends across 5 crucial distinct domains: business, finance, science, engineering, and spirituality.
And our goal is to connect these seemingly disparate dots and reveal this collective global pivot towards substance. We want to show you exactly how the physical constraints of our world are now the primary drivers of the biggest shifts in strategy, investment, and even culture.
The convergence across these 5 domains is it's fascinating.
It really is. Whether we look at a hedge fund's portfolio construction on Wall Street or, some highly complex materials research happening in a university lab, the underlying pattern is exactly the same.
The shift is from theory to application.
It's decisively from theoretical promise to applied, tangible reality. We are moving from digital speculation to physical foundations.
Now, let's be clear. This is our first yearly roundup, and we know what you might be thinking. Oh, no, not another superficial year-end review.
And we really want to stress that this is a true deep dive. We haven't just pulled headlines from the top of the newsfeed.
No, we've done the work. We've scavenged every corner of the internet, from obscure financial filings, technical papers on semiconductor architectures, activist shareholder reports.
All the way to dense scientific journals, all of it, just to connect the dots across these 5 major domains. This isn't just a list, it's a synthesis.
And look, we know that analyzing 50 trends across 5 domains in under 40 minutes is a lot to absorb in one sitting.
It's a fire hose of information.
It is. And that's why we've published the full 20-page research paper. It's called 2025, Tangible Value, Digital Horizons. It's up on our website. We highly encourage you to read it for context, use it as a resource, and maybe even come back and listen to this deep dive again to see exactly how all these complex pieces fit together into one cohesive narrative. I'm Satosha.
And I'm Satoshi. So let's start the main segment with the drum roll, because the central story of 2025, the story that really explains that Sandisk return, is the investment narrative of tangible infrastructure.
Okay, let's unpack this. We spent years chasing software unicorns, right? Watching their valuations just soar based on pure potential. But 2025 was the year capital came flooding back to the physical world. It created this tidal wave we're calling the storage supercycle.
Exactly. The financial context here is absolutely crucial. The market spent 2023 and 2024 completely obsessed with one thing: compute.
Processing power, GPUs.
All GPUs, all the time. But in 2025, that massive investment in processing power hit a physical, completely unavoidable bottleneck: memory and storage.
Right.
AI models, especially these newer large language models and generative agents, they don't just need fast processing. They need absolutely massive data sets fed into those GPUs at lightning speeds continuously.
And the old infrastructure just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
The most advanced GPUs, like the NVIDIA Blackwell platform, they were simply too fast for the data pipelines feeding them.
It's like putting a Formula One engine in a family sedan.
Yes. The chassis and the fuel lines just can't keep up. And this infrastructure flaw created a desperate, immediate, and very high-margin demand for high-density, high-speed enterprise solid-state drives, or ESSDs.
And that's what led directly to the crown jewel investment of the year: Sandisk Corporation, ticker SNDK. Following its spin-off from Western Digital on February 24th, Sandisk delivered that staggering return of, around 570 to 580% by the end of the year.
And again, this wasn't speculation.
No, this was just filling an essential physical need.
But this wasn't just some market blip. This massive gain has a really fascinating layered investment thesis behind it that reveals the core strategic dynamics of 2025 business. We need to deconstruct exactly why Sandisk soared from obscurity to become the champion.
Okay, so there were really 4 converging factors that created this perfect storm. The first was a financial maneuver known as the spin-off arbitrage. For years, Sandisk's real value was depressed. It was essentially obscured within the Western Digital, or WDC, conglomerate structure. It was being weighed down by the slower growth, much less exciting hard disk drive business.
So the market was just looking at the whole company and seeing the old, slow-moving ship?
Exactly. But when the separation happened, it was a classic value unlock. The market initially mispriced the standalone, pure-play Sandisk entity at only about $38.50 a share at its debut in February.
So investors who actually understood this impending memory bottleneck saw a massive opportunity.
A massive opportunity, precisely. That undervaluation allowed for huge alpha generation as the stock just soared toward $248 by December.
Wow.
The second factor was the technological moat. Sandisk wasn't just making generic memory. Their proprietary Stargate SSD architecture and their BiCS8 NAND technology provided the exact, specific, high-speed storage layer that was essential for rapid AI inference.
And for those of us who aren't semiconductor architects, what did that technology functionally improve? What does that mean?
It really came down to 2 things: density and speed. BiCS8 allowed them to stack memory cells more closely and more reliably than their competitors, which increases capacity per chip.
Okay.
While the Stargate architecture was crucial for reducing latency. And latency is that tiny, tiny delay between when the GPU requests data and when the SSD can actually deliver it.
And in AI, that's everything.
In AI training and especially inference, low latency is absolutely everything. That technological edge allowed Sandisk to command premium pricing, expanding their gross margins from the low 20s to a very healthy 36%. They had exactly what the AI industry needed at the exact moment the physical bottleneck was revealed.
Okay, so that's two factors. What's the third?
The third factor was crucial for stabilizing what is often a very volatile sector, cyclical timing.
Yeah.
The memory market is notoriously boom and bust. It's constantly suffering from oversupply.
Right, they make too much, the price crashes.
Always. But 2025 marked the beginning of a historic, disciplined upcycle. Unlike previous eras where manufacturers just flooded the market at the first sign of profit, this time they maintained really tight capacity control. That supply discipline allowed the whole industry to embrace a profit over market share mentality. And that sustained those high prices even as demand was just exploding from data center operators.
So you have the value unlock from the spin-off, the technological superiority, and the market discipline.
That trifecta is what created the nearly 600% return.
Incredible. Now, let's turn to the runner-up, because this reinforces the tangible trend even more powerfully, but completely outside the tech sector.
Yes. The undisputed champion of the commodity class was silver.
The performance was truly extraordinary.
It was. Silver prices surged between 150 to 168% in 2025. It absolutely obliterated gold, which, though it was strong, only managed a 53 to 75% return.
And this is just the clearest possible evidence that utility is now driving financial performance, even in precious metals.
This was the perfect storm of dual demand, right? It was this blend of the industrial and the monetary utility of the metal.
Precisely. On the industrial side, silver is indispensable in photovoltaics.
Solar panels.
Exactly. It's the most electrically conductive metal, and there is no cost-effective substitute for it. The global push for renewable energy accelerated dramatically, with these mega projects like the Kavda solar park in India driving demand straight through the roof.
And this industrial consumption caused a structural deficit. Consumption outpaced mining supply for the 5th consecutive year.
We are literally using up the physical metal faster than we can pull it out of the ground.
We are. And then you have the monetary side of the equation. Amidst these lingering global inflation fears and geopolitical instability, silver acted as a leveraged inflation hedge.
So for listeners who might not follow the commodity market daily, this phenomenon caused the gold-silver ratio to collapse.
Yes. Historically, gold is way more expensive, obviously. But when silver, which is cheaper, starts rapidly catching up because of its industrial utility, it signals that investors are viewing it as a safer, undervalued store of wealth. It's a tangible asset that serves two critical purposes at once.
So when you look at the comparison table from the research, the message is just undeniable. Western Digital, Micron with its high bandwidth memory or HBM for AI and silver all vastly outperform the digital giants and the major stock indices.
Even Hyperliquid, the ticker HYPE, which was the top crypto contender and had an impressive 86% return, even it lagged far behind the industrial utility of silver and the physical hardware necessity of Sandisk.
It was truly the year the physical won the financial race.
And that strategic message, that shift from speculation to substance, wasn't just limited to the investment committee. It fundamentally redefined how businesses operated globally.
Let's move into our analysis of the top 10 trends in business then. The operational theme here was this necessary shift away from the speculative growth-at-all-costs mentality back to growth with tangible ROI.
The fear of recession that really dominated 2023 just evaporated, but it was replaced by a more cautious, targeted capital deployment that was focused on infrastructure, efficiency, and measurable productivity gains.
So trend number 1, the AI factory operating model. AI finally moved from being an experimental chatbot or a fun tool to becoming foundational infrastructure.
Yeah, it's no longer a tool you use, it's the core structure you operate within.
Exactly.
Major financial and tech institutions, notably banks like JP Chase and industrial leaders like IBM, they mandated this AI-first approach, and this meant AI was redesigning workflows from the ground up, providing continuous, scalable production of intelligence across all departments.
So what does that look like in practice?
Well, think about compliance risk modeling. It used to take weeks of human review. Now it happens in seconds. Or code generation that dramatically accelerates product development.
That sounds incredibly powerful, but also really risky.
Oh, it is. And we saw data showing that 78% of banking CEOs admitted they accepted significant implementation or operational risks just to harness these automation advantages.
So the fear wasn't failing to adopt AI. The fear was getting left behind.
The fear was failing to keep up with competitors who were adopting it. It became existential, automate, or become obsolete.
Trend 2, the great deconglomeration. So Sandisk's success wasn't just a financial footnote. It was a blueprint for corporate strategy.
Absolutely. It validated the whole strategy of breaking up large, complex corporations. Investors punished complexity and rewarded focus. The conglomerate discount became a major theme in 2025 M&A.
Why did this happen now, though? I mean, wasn't this pressure always there?
The pressure intensified because the high-growth sectors like AI and specialized memory became so valuable that their contribution was essentially being hidden when it was bundled with lower-growth units. So firms with these high-growth units trapped in low-growth structures faced immense activist pressure to authorize similar breakups. Investors want purity of focus. They want to invest directly in the winning trend, like Sandisk's flash memory, without having to buy the slow, legacy businesses attached to it.
The sum of the parts was often far greater than the whole.
Exactly.
Trend 3, the soft landing realized. All those recessionary fears from 2023 and 2024, they just vanished.
Gone. Global economic stabilization was the actual story of 2025. The data is stark. 71% of U.S. business leaders reported they did not expect a recession in 2025. That is a dramatic reversal of sentiment from the preceding years.
And that confidence didn't just stay on the balance sheet, right?
No, it translated directly into concrete business actions. We saw over half of mid-market executives planning to introduce new, tangible products or services. The narrative shifted from recessionary survival to cautious, infrastructure-led expansion.
Okay, trend 4, supply chain discipline and pricing power. This sounds like a direct echo of our opening thesis about Sandisk and silver.
It is. Manufacturers learned their lesson about oversupply. In critical sectors like semiconductors and commodities, there was a resolute return of operational discipline. Companies like Micron and Sandisk maintained tight control over inventory and capacity expansion.
They prioritize profitability.
They prioritize profitability and high margins over simply grabbing market share at any cost. That profit over market share mentality became the operational theme that sustained the high prices and fed the memory and commodity upcycles we saw.
Trend 5, and this is the consumer counter trend that I find fascinating, the experience economy 2.0. The consumer basically rejected the digital overload.
Completely. Consumer spending shifted dramatically toward physical experiences. People wanted to do things, interact in real space, and reject screens. We saw a massive boom in coolcations.
Traveling specifically to cooler climates to escape heat waves.
Exactly. And also, secular pilgrimages focused on self-improvement. It was deeper than just post-pandemic energy. It was driven by this post-pandemic hunger for genuine connection and a strong reaction against the culture-rotting and algorithmic fatigue of the internet.
And businesses responded by analoging on.
They did. They catered to the desire for the tangible, the tactile, and the real physical world, whether that's in travel, hobbies, or entertainment.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That sets the stage perfectly for finance trends. The financial world always reflects the operational world, and 2025 was characterized by traditional finance, or TradFi, finally meeting tangible utility head-on.
Yeah, the financial sector was really defined by institutionalization, particularly in the crypto space, and a renewed, profound focus on assets that provided real, measurable physical utility.
To trend number 1 in finance, the rise of regulated stablecoins and European autonomy. This feels like the end of the Wild West era for crypto, at least for the institutional players.
2025 was definitely the beginning of the regulated utility era. As we mentioned, that consortium of 9 major European banks, including giants like ING and Deutsche Bank, launched a euro-backed stablecoin.
And this wasn't some speculative asset.
Not at all. This was traditional finance co-opting the technology of DeFi specifically to improve cross-border settlement speeds. And crucially, it was a move to assert European strategic payments autonomy and counter the overwhelming dominance of US dollar stablecoins.
Trend 2, multi-asset fund outperformance. This is the data point that just screams that diversification beyond the old 60-40 stock-bond mix really paid off in a tangible asset world.
Multi-asset allocation funds were the financial standouts, and it's because they strategically held significant exposure to gold and, more importantly, silver.
Right.
While pure equity funds often struggled with the volatile sector rotation in tech, these diversified funds delivered average returns of nearly 17%, driven by the massive surges in those tangible commodities, 76% for gold and 155% for silver.
It proved that a balanced portfolio needs physical ballast in this kind of environment.
It does. It needs it in an inflationary, utility-driven environment. Absolutely.
Okay, trend 3. private credit and non-bank lending. As regulations tightened on traditional banks, specifically with the Basel III endgame rules looming,
Those banks became constrained in what they could lend, and private credit expanded dramatically to fill that massive gap. Non-bank lenders stepped in to finance the mid-market expansion, and critically, the physical infrastructure projects that banks were now too restricted or too cautious to touch.
so the financing mechanism is actively following the physical demand for infrastructure.
It's a perfect example of it.
Trend 4 ties directly into that. Embedded finance, or BOS, the physical interface of the bank is kind of disappearing.
Banking as a service, or BOSS, evolved into a truly ubiquitous layer. Financial transactions became these invisible layers within other consumer experiences.
Like e-commerce platforms offering instant financing at checkout.
Exactly. Or ride-sharing apps offering instant insurance based on the route you select. For traditional banks, the competition shifted entirely from defending branch networks to competing for the critical API connections that power these embedded services.
Trend 5. Cybersecurity as the primary financial risk. The AI factory is a double-edged sword, right? It creates proportional risk.
A massive and immediate increase in operational risk. We are talking about highly sophisticated AI-powered cyber attacks,
Like what?
deepfake voice authorization for transfers, highly personalized phishing campaigns that exploit unique data profiles. Financial institutions were forced to fight fire with fire, adopting AI-driven defense mechanisms. Zero trust architecture, where no user or device is trusted by default, became a mandatory regulatory imperative, not just a security buzzword.
And that leads us right to Trend 8, the shift from growth to value, the utility case. Outside of that specific AI hardware gold rush, the broader market rewarded substance.
Yeah, the broader equity market showed a definite preference for value companies with strong, reliable cash flow, tangible assets, and dividends. Utilities, for example, performed surprisingly well, up over 20% on average.
Why utilities?
Because the market realized AI data centers require immense physical power. That makes electricity suppliers critical, tangible infrastructure plays. You cannot run a digital world without massive, reliable power grids.
Before we pivot from the world of finance to the world of labs and materials, we just want to take a quick break in our deep dive to thank you, our listeners, and talk a bit about the future.
When we started this show, we had a pretty simple idea. Is there space for truly deep, rigorous research and analysis outside the usual campus settings or, the closed doors of think tanks?
And it's clear you are all as fascinated by these deep dives as we are. You want to understand the why and connect the dots globally.
To keep producing this type of complex, comprehensive content, and crucially, to start creating high-quality videos that show these connections visually, we need your help.
Yeah, a visual deep dive into the financial flow from a solar park in India all the way to a memory chip company in the US. We're trying to unlock funding for the Mosaic AI video editor by hitting 1,000 subscribers across all platforms.
And a tool like Mosaic AI is key because showing the complex cross-pollination between, say, the structural deficit driving silver demand and the investment in tunneling mega projects, visualizing these complex trends would be such a cakewalk with the right tools.
Your subscription is what shows us the demand is there, and it unlocks the ability to make this even better and more visual for you. So please, if you enjoy these discussions and want to see our research translated into visual content, just take a moment to subscribe wherever you listen. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Fountain.fm, or any other compatible app.
Your support really does make this depth of research possible.
Okay, let's pivot now from dollars and stock charts to the lab bench. We saw in finance that the money chased utility and substance. Now let's see how science trends are building the new utilities. The year was really defined by moving from theoretical models to applied materials-based solutions.
The definition of scientific success in 2025 was the tangible application of advanced physics and biology to solve massive physical human problems. How to store energy, how to cure complex disease, and how to expand humanity beyond Earth.
So trend 1, structural energy storage. Concrete batteries. This is maybe the most tangible, literally infrastructural breakthrough of the year.
This is truly revolutionary in terms of scale. MIT researchers figured out how to turn cement, one of the world's most common materials, into a supercapacitor.
Wow.
By combining cement powder with carbon black and water, they created a material that's capable of storing energy.
But why is a concrete battery better than a traditional battery? I mean, it sounds heavy and inefficient.
It's revolutionary because of the scale it enables. Lithium batteries, they take up dedicated physical space, they require expensive real estate. The implication here is staggering. The structures themselves can become the storage units.
So buildings, roads, walls.
Exactly. They will eventually become the physical batteries that power the grid, drastically reducing our dependence on standalone, land-hungry lithium-ion systems. It solves the massive physical problem of where to put all the batteries needed for the green transition.
Wow. Okay, trend 2. Breakthroughs in gene therapy for complex neurological disorders. Precision medicine is moving into the brain.
Yes. Genetic medicine moved into the deep end, focusing on complex network disorders, which are traditionally very difficult to treat with targeted drugs. Researchers at University College London successfully used an adeno-associated virus vector to deliver the LGI1 gene to treat drug-resistant focal epilepsy.
And that calmed the excitability of brain cells.
It did. And it offers real, tangible hope for previously untreatable brain conditions by literally correcting the biological hardware.
Trend 3. Lunar infrastructure and nuclear power. So space is officially moving from exploration to industrialization.
Space is no longer about planting flags. It's about function. Russia announced concrete plans to establish a nuclear power plant on the moon within the next decade. That signals a serious commitment to permanent, functional lunar infrastructure.
You need consistent power to industrialize anything.
You do. And relatedly, the first light of the Vera C. Rubin Observatory in Chile also marked a new era in ground-based physical astronomy infrastructure, promising to map the universe with unprecedented physical speed and scale.
Trend 4. Quantum error correction. This is about moving us closer to true quantum advantage. We hear about quantum computing constantly, but the physical limitations have been immense.
They have been. The biggest hurdle in quantum computing is noise and instability, the physical errors that corrupt the calculations. Researchers at AWS and Caltech achieved the cat-qubit breakthrough, which dramatically reduced quantum computing errors by up to 90%.
What does that reduction in the error rate actually mean for the industry?
It's critical. It signals that we are finally exiting the noisy intermediate-scale quantum, or NISQ, era. This is the physical and engineering hurdle we need to clear to unlock the computer's true potential. Reducing the physical instability of the qubits is the path to achieving quantum advantage.
Which is where a quantum computer can finally outperform the fastest classical supercomputers for specific complex calculations.
Exactly.
Moving on, let's explore engineering trends. If science figured out how to use the materials, engineering figured out how to reshape the physical world using them. This domain was defined by the battle against geography.
Engineering in 2025 was all about scale and integration, reshaping the physical world and integrating advanced mechanics with biology to overcome physical limitations imposed by density, scarcity, and climate.
Trend 1. The tunneling renaissance. Urban congestion and water scarcity are forcing us underground.
Subterranean engineering entered a golden age, driven by the massive expense of acquiring land above ground. We saw major vital infrastructure projects moving forward, like the Hudson Tunnel project for new rail capacity in New York.
And California's 45-mile Delta Conveyance project for critical water transfer.
Exactly. And these mega projects are becoming more feasible because of advancements in tunnel boring machines, or TBMs. They're making them faster, safer, and more economical.
So in crowded or stressed environments, like dense cities or drought-stricken regions, going underground is often the only viable physical solution left.
It is.
Trend 2. Mega-scale and floating infrastructure. The sheer size of renewable energy projects just exploded.
I mean, think about the Kavda Solar Park in India, which aims to be the world's largest. It's going to cover a physical area the size of a small country.
Or the Omkareshwar floating solar park.
That concept of placing solar panels on reservoirs is an incredible engineering feat because it solves two physical problems at once. It generates power without using valuable land, and it reduces water evaporation from the reservoir by shading the surface.
Trend 3. Bionic augmentation and wearable robotics. The line between human and machine is blurring, moving past mere assistance.
It is. MIT engineers developed a bionic knee that allows amputees to walk faster and climb stairs with a natural gait, actively responding to the user's intended movement. This is a move beyond passive assistive devices toward true augmentation.
Where machines integrate seamlessly to restore or fundamentally improve human function.
Precisely. And we saw that also in advanced wearable robotics, helping stroke survivors relearn physical mobility.
And we arrive at the final, and maybe the most human, section. Spirituality trends. We've seen the physical world return in finance, science, and engineering. What happens when the digital world gets too intense, too frictionless for the human spirit?
The spiritual search of 2025 was a deep quest for anchorage. It was a pragmatic, often aggressive reaction against the digital, and a search for mental wellness rooted in the physical reality of the body and nature.
Trend 1. The Great Logging Off, or analog wellness. This is the dominant cultural theme that affected consumer products and daily routines.
People were aggressively disconnecting. They sought analog wellness hobbies, crafts, and above all, tactile screen-free experiences. We saw massive surges in sales of intentionally limited dumb phones, like the Light Phone 3.
And a strong revival of film cameras, like the Pentax 17. It's the pursuit of friction as an antidote to the digital, right?
Precisely. It's the desire for resistance, the need to feel the physical world push back. The satisfying click of a film advance lever, the messy process of kneading dough, the difficulty of learning a physical skill. It's a direct physiological rejection of the numbing, frictionless slide of the algorithmic internet.
Trend 2. Eco-spirituality and forest bathing.
The climate crisis and generalized environmental anxiety fueled a deep focus on the Earth as a spiritual entity. Wellness trends like Japanese-inspired forest bathing and immersive nature retreats became completely mainstream.
Nature viewed as a cathedral.
Yes. And practices like grounding became commonplace as a spiritual response to solastalgia, that profound distress caused by the physical environmental change you see around you.
Trend 3. Ancestral healing and root seeking. This feels like a reaction to societal atomization.
It is. Interest in genealogy moved beyond just DNA percentages to ancestral healing, the idea of spiritually healing past generational traumas. In a highly atomized society where traditional communities are dissolving, people are desperate for deep root systems and a sense of belonging.
They're seeking physical links to the past.
Exactly, blending the science of epigenetics with spiritualism and traditional practices.
And trend 4, somatic spirituality, feels related. Body-based transcendence, moving away from cognitive thought.
Sound baths and vibration therapy moved from the fringe to center stage. This is a body-based or somatic spirituality rather than a purely cognitive or text-based one. People want to feel the transcendence physically through gongs, tuning forks, and binaural beats. It aligns perfectly with the overarching theme of physicality and anchoring in the body as a reaction to digital abstraction.
And finally, trend 5, the humanist revival. A direct existential response to the rapid rise of AI.
As AI began to mimic human creativity and conversation with alarming sophistication, it sparked these profound existential questions about the soul and the unique purpose of human existence.
And the spiritual response was a doubling down on the qualities AI can't replicate.
Empathy, vulnerability, mortality. The simple assertion, "I am not a robot," became a profound spiritual affirmation of human uniqueness.
As we conclude this deep dive, let's reflect on the broader applications of all 50 trends we've covered. The core lesson of 2025 seems crystal clear. Sandisk and silver didn't win by accident.
No, they won because they filled critical physical bottlenecks. The world can't run without fast memory, and it can't transition to green energy without silver.
So what's the outlook for 2026? If this pattern holds, the smart money is already aggressively searching for the next physical bottleneck that will inevitably halt the digital expansion.
Two major areas emerge pretty clearly from the analysis of physical constraints. First, will it be energy transmission? All those new AI factories, electric vehicle grids, and massive solar parks need massive amounts of power moved efficiently across continents. This suggests a huge future demand for materials like copper, potentially making it the new oil.
And the second area?
Second, will it be clean water technology? With scarcity growing globally, innovations beyond massive desalination and transfer projects, focusing on new methods of localized harvesting and infrastructure resilience, will be absolutely essential for stability.
The strategic game has fundamentally changed. For all of you listening, we're moving from chasing purely speculative, frictionless growth to chasing substance, resilience, and physical necessity.
The era of believing that digital scale can just overcome physical limits is over.
And this extends beyond investment and policy. The most successful individuals in 2026 will be those who can master the machine, achieve that high-performance digital work required in the AI factory, but crucially, without becoming one.
They'll achieve that balance through deep, restorative, analog living, rooting themselves in the physical reality of the world.
The future master is the one who can toggle between those two worlds seamlessly, achieving digital success while maintaining physical and spiritual integrity.
And we want to remind you that this analysis is based on publicly available information, and the story of 2026 is still unfolding. We invite you to make this a community effort.
Yeah, share your own analysis and sources in the comments. Are we being too optimistic about copper? Did we miss a critical trend in material science?
We're always looking for collaborators to review our content, so if you're a finance expert or a crypto native with a sharp eye for detail, please reach out to us on our website. We want to ensure this deep research remains rigorous and reflective of the entire global landscape.
Thank you for joining us for this deep, comprehensive retrospective on the year of tangible infrastructure.
As always, keep searching.
Keep the quest on.